My name is Mike Butcher. I'm a journalist with TechCrunch, and I'm emceeing, tag teaming emceeing today with Thomas, who's, I can never say your last name. Steele-Maley. 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 That's a sort of, that's his, Steele-Maley is his superhero name. Right, so how's it going to work? Just for those of you who haven't been here before, is that we have pitches from 5 companies in a row, and the first one is a non-profit, and what happens is there's a 5-minute pitch, 5-minute Q&A, and then we'll take a short 1-minute break for judges to gather their thoughts about the project, the organisation, and then we go to the next one. Very simple, and we do questions only with judges, not in the audience. Yesterday we went through 16 companies, 16 companies alone in here, and about 12 in the other room. So it was a big day. We're going through lots and lots of companies. We're going to end up with 42 organizations that will have pitched here in Future Zone and Tomorrow Zone and in EdTalk. And out of that, we will have 6 companies who will be announced this evening, who will be pitching tomorrow on the plenary stage in the morning for the final judge off, pitch off, etc. And then the winners of that will win $25,000 and the GESFF trophy, and there's also the opportunity to pilot projects with some of the partners and states who are here. So pretty exciting stuff. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Thomas, who'll do the emceeing, and then we'll go straight into the pitches. Thanks very much. Okay. You can clap.
Yep. Thank you so much. Just quickly, a few housekeeping points. There is a timer on stage. There's also Jillian here, who will be giving you some indicators of when time is almost up, but do keep an eye on that. You'll have, again, 5 minutes to pitch. There's 5 minutes of question and answers, and then a 1-minute conference time in between the switch. And Mike had a good point yesterday that if you pitch for 4 minutes, you have longer for questions. So just things to think about a little bit. I do want to introduce, though, the judges. Mike Butcher and Diane C. are here, who are our lead judges with myself. And then we have a very distinguished group of judges that are coming from around the world. Victor Hugh is here. James Tieng is here. Lynda Cloud is here. Jennifer Carolan is here. And Jan Kayo Feiberg is here. And so I would encourage you in the app that Vikas mentioned earlier today to look up a little bit about who they are as you feel necessary. And so without further ado, we're going to call up Public Lab and start the pitch.
Hi, everybody. I'm a little loud. I'm Jeff Warren from Public Lab, and I'm here to talk about our community science kits. Public Lab is it's a community and, as mentioned, a nonprofit democratizing science to address environmental issues specifically that affect people. We were founded during the BP oil spill, and we've become pretty well known, actually I'll go back, for helping communities with aerial photography from balloons, attaching cameras to balloons. And this is a good example of that kind of photo. A group in Brooklyn taking a photograph from a balloon. You can see the string going back down into that canoe. But we also have a robust, I'm getting a little feedback actually. Should I stand somewhere else? Yeah, okay. We also have a robust online platform where people post different scientific techniques and methods of monitoring the environment. We have about 30,000 people around the world using this. That includes makers, educators, activists, and scientists. Well, what makes us different from other science kits, for example? I think science education these days is a bit abstract. Students may live near a landfill or a refinery, but the material they cover in the classroom doesn't necessarily draw a connection to what's outside their window. Our kits really help people to ask questions about the real world. And of course, many communities around the world, unfortunately, have similar questions, questions about water, air, and soil. And since our kits are actually invented by and produced by our community, they reflect community needs. We're part of a growing movement, which we've helped to define, known as community science. It's similar to citizen science, which you may have heard of, but it's bottom-up, it's grassroots. It's science by the people, for the people, and it often reflects those priorities. So it tends to be very affordable, it tends to be very pragmatic, and it also tends to be surprising sometimes. This is a good example. This is a papercraft spectrometer. It's one of our most popular kits. And a spectrometer is a scientific instrument for analyzing materials. This one is made out of paper, and it also uses a DVD, which is cut up and used as a prism inside the instrument. This costs only 50 cents to produce. So we've distributed these all over the world. It was featured in The Economist in December, and 12,000 people have built one. This is, I think, a pretty good example of the kind of kit that we produce in our program, because it's not only an advanced instrument that is made out of everyday materials, but it's also very accessible. It kind of explains itself, and it's very good at welcoming new people into making and using scientific instruments. But it's only the entry point. I think our kits, they get more complex, they get more powerful, but they never lose touch with that idea that they should be made of accessible everyday materials, that they should be hackable, modifiable to your own needs and interests. This is a good example as well. This is a Lego spectrometer, which actually has a precision of 2 nanometers, but it still costs less than $50. It's another one of our kits. We also have a robust online community where people can upload data. People have done so over 100,000 times, and you can have discussions about environmental issues you care about, and we have a real community, a peer production network that supports our projects and pushes it along. We ship the kits, as I mentioned, worldwide. We've shipped over 10,000 kits of different types, including aerial photography, balloon mapping, spectrometry, infrared kits, all kinds of things. And through partnerships with institutions like NASA's GLOBE program, we've been able to get into classrooms and to reach people really in many different places. But all of our kits relate back to environmental problems that affect people. So we partnered with community groups, hundreds of them around the world, and local environmental projects to make sure that we're not getting detached from the originating problem, which is actually environmental pollution. And then finally, our community generates new ideas all the time, which often lead into kits. So what we've begun doing is incubating projects. For example, this is a do-it-yourself microscope kit that is precise enough to take photographs of particles of air pollution that are only 2 microns in size. It was developed in partnership with a local educational group, and we're incubating them to release this as one of our new kits. Finally, all of our work is open source and freely available. So you can actually go to publiclab.org right now and download the designs, begin collaborating. You can order a kit, but I encourage you to check it out. And I think that's actually it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So now our judges have microphones in front of them, and there'll be 5 minutes for question and answer.
Can you hear me? Great. Congratulations. I love your mission and your enthusiasm. I just had a couple questions maybe about the product and how you've designed it. Specifically, while there's, I think, some great work that's out there, one of the biggest barriers to getting products infiltrated into the classroom is trying to tie it to a curriculum and how it's being taught. So would be curious if you could speak to, and that gets more complex as you look at global adoption and curriculum standards. Would be curious if you could speak to how you've thought about that and what that looks like in your mind and how you've worked either with leading programs or publishers or standards to help solve that problem.
Sure. I think it's a tough one because curricular standards vary quite a bit. But what we've mostly done is, so far, is to rely on the educators who are already in our network, who are writing curricula for themselves, and supporting them to publish them. So we have a a publishing platform where we invite people to publish their work and then other people to kind of replicate it in the sense of scientific replication. And we've hosted quite a few curricula over the years. Many of them are to state standards in the US, for example. But I do think that that's one area we'd really like to build out. And I think we'd like to do, I mean, our website is already kind of Wikipedia style. Peer production is a powerful means to produce new content. I don't see a limitation in terms of capacity in that sense, but I do think that's one of our focus areas is to build that out.
A wonderful mission and brand and open source sort of bottoms-up approach I really loved. My question is just what are some of the challenges that you're facing right now? What can we provide input on?
Well, we didn't start as an educational organization, and our primary mission of the nonprofit, the host nonprofit, is environmental. But what we found is that teachers really love our kits. And for obvious reasons, they make a lot of sense in the classroom, and some of our best customers are teachers. And we've worked pretty hard to develop out capacity and resources for educators, both in informal and formal education space. But it's not we're not deep in the educational world. And we have partnerships with, say, Fisher Scientific to distribute some of our kits. But beyond that kind of retail or wholesale level, we don't have a deep understanding of the educational space as a market, as an organization. And that's one of the ways we're looking to make contacts at events like this and to build out our expertise and perhaps bring on new team members. But that's an area that I think we could use some help in.
Great. Then I would, totally agree with Lynda that partnering around these distribution organizations and making sure that the products are aligned with the various curriculum would just help reduce some of the friction to getting it into the classroom.
Thank you.
It's great.
Cheers, hi. A thought-provoking suggestion, or just to get your feedback. Is it required to be in the classrooms? You said the teachers are the ones that are pushing it forward, but I'm thinking about how Lego has built one of the largest education learning communities, and they didn't start it to be in the classroom. Yes, they had the brand and they pushed it out, but it's the virality of it online with these kids. You ship 12,000 of these units. That's fantastic. So getting in each of the classrooms is a sheer force upwards, right? Because there's so many internal agendas that need to be fit. But through the social medias and being able to get those ambassadors out to give like peers to make them proud that they share their content, I think that is an opportunity to add a few zeros behind those 12,000. Have you thought about this, or are you structured on it?
I think it's a great idea. In a lot of ways, we almost start from the informal education side because we came from a different space. So people began making our kits and bringing them to school or whatever, or teachers found out about them outside and tried to craft a curriculum around them. So I think it's a good point. We shouldn't imagine that that's not the way to go, that we must be formal. I think that we've seen that we'd like to do both. We'd like to be in the classroom, and there's no reason that formal education should be missing these aspects of like a connection to the real world and so forth. So although I think you're right, we shouldn't stop doing the sort of informal push, the sort of viral nature of that. We are very curious about how we could do better at getting in the formal space through curricular programs and things like this. So, but thank you.
Perfect. Just a quick note, the head of the Lego Foundation is here this weekend, so you might want to request a meeting.
Yeah, please, I'd love point them out to me, please.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time is up. So
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
I think thought-provoking detail in that conversation was about formal and informal learning, and just sort of the wider guise of this prize. Strengthening the hand of the educator can be in informal or formal settings. And so it's just something that's a thought-provoking piece for us to carry throughout the day and the conference as well, especially from what we saw in the open plenary. So the next company up is Cland. And so okay. Sorry. And then we need a minute anyway, but Cland is not here. Sorry. Okay, so we will continue with Zelda next to pitch. Zelda.
Yeah, getting bumped forward one is great for the nerves. Hi everyone, my name is Dominic Shaw. I am from Zelda, from Cape Town, South Africa. Now Zelda is a mobile app that provides free online career guidance for high school students who are looking for opportunities for funding, for tertiary education or other post-school kind of paths. And Zelda also happens to be my mother. Bless you. Zelda happens to be my mom, and she always told me when I was younger that I could do anything I wanted to do with my life, as long as I did it to the best of my ability. So as any good son would, I ignored her, and I dropped out of university, twice, and ended up spending 2 years doing manual labor so I could pay back student loans for the law degree I didn't have. But I'm not the only person who has issues with higher education. In South Africa, for example, we have 600,000 students finishing high school every year, and we have roughly $1 billion spent by private companies to help put those students through tertiary education. So that's part of a talent pipelining process for those companies to find early hires. The problem here is that only 30% of students in South Africa make it through university on time. And out of those students who actually make it through, the ones who actually are meant to go work for companies afterwards, in some cases up to 90% of them choose not to work for their sponsor company. A large reason for this is that students don't know what they're good at. They don't know what they enjoy doing. They don't know what they want to do with their lives, and they get stuck in careers that they don't like. But this ends up being a big cost for the companies who've put time and money into finding the strong talent, but it's an even bigger cost for the students who, in a country where education is the only way out of the poverty gap, this honestly ruins some of their best chances at life. So how do we help? Zelda provides, it's an online app, so it provides regular psychometric or personality-based tests, so little short quizzes, 5 questions at a time, and over time it builds a strong, robust personality profile for you. And using that profile, we start to suggest career opportunities. So we suggest funding opportunities that you can apply for to go study in certain career paths. We then make it easy for you to apply for that using autocomplete forms and one-click applications. So what we're actually doing is we're using decades of proven psychometric research that show that psychometrics are one of the best ways still to actually predict career and academic success. We're combining that with modern data analytics to create the most accurate support we can give to students. Now we want Zelda to be free for students. In the developing world, people can't afford to go to psychometrists and actually pay for support. So we want it free for students, so we've built a recruitment model here. Companies who are looking for strong talent to provide bursaries pay a subscription to access a database of students where they can find people that match their company profile, that match their kind of company culture, and then they pay a commission for students that successfully get a bursary through their program. So it makes it scalable for companies that actually can't pay huge amounts to actually access this database. It means they can find individual students and pay a small commission. So we're working in 2 different industries. We've got career guidance and we've got talent acquisition, and we're actually combining the 2, and we fit into the middle, streamlining students from career guidance into the working world. So our team met while studying engineering at the University of Cape Town. Jasanth has just got his engineering degree, mechanical engineering. Carla joined us after leaving Amazon Web Services, so we're very lucky to have her on board. She's a pro, and I am unemployable. Now, our team's young and virile, but so is our company. We started in August last year, and a month later, we joined the first EdTech incubator in Africa. And we've only just finished the first Android version of our app. So we're going to start user testing next week, actually, when we get back. In the next couple of months, we're going to be releasing publicly. And next year, we're actually looking to become the first, or we're really pushing to become the first centralized university application platform in South Africa, because right now, everything is completely distributed if you want to go to a tertiary institution. Then we want to move into the rest of the African continent, and we're going to start by actually looking at African students who are looking to study outside of the continent. So we want to find them funding so that they can actually afford a better education. So where I had Zelda, and although it didn't always help, I had Zelda guiding me when I was younger. We want students in South Africa, in Africa, and around the world to have the Zelda app guiding them. Thank you.
Great. So we'll take questions now for 5.5 minutes.
Can you talk a little bit more about your intended business model, the subscription fee piece with corporates? I understand that you're trying to enable long-term relationships between those corporations and students. I didn't quite understand the bursary piece of it. That's probably market specific.
Sure.
And also, I just wanted to get a better feel for what that value proposition really is for the corporation, particularly if it's going to take quite a bit of time before it can become a talent pipeline for them, sort of in the LinkedIn model.
Yeah, so it is market specific at this stage. So in South Africa, that number that I gave, the $1 billion, that's not companies providing grant funding for a university. That's the amount of money that companies at the moment spend on sending students to university as part of bursary programs. So all we're trying to do is de-risk that investment. So we're making sure that if we're sending, for instance, the Minister of Higher Education in South Africa recently said that one of the biggest issues is students who are going to study engineering 80% of them end up going into banking or into non-engineering fields. And we want to make sure that the companies who are investing in those students are not investing in students to go work in a different industry. So we're trying to de-risk that investment for them. So that's an amount of money that's already spent on the bursary programs in South Africa. So companies are seeing that one of the best ways to actually access students is from an early age. It makes them more competitive in the kind of talent acquisition market. I don't know if that's more clarity or if you need more there.
Can I ask, what are you tying the psychometric data to? Is it, sort of position-specific data compiled from all the employers? Yeah. How do you do the matching?
Yeah, so when we sign employees on board, part of that onboarding process is actually getting profiles from their existing employees. So employees have been in the company for a while, and including actually a job satisfaction metric there as well. So not only what your personality is like, but how much you enjoy working at the company. So success comes in many forms, and only some of them are kind of financial and ladder success. Some of those include job satisfaction. So we're building, we gather that data there, gathering data from universities as well, so students who are top performers at university and enjoying their studies. And then there's open source data sets that we're using to initially train the machine learning model.
Thanks for the pitch. I had just had a quick question on your logic behind going broad versus just starting with a certain vertical, like a comp sci or engineering.
We could do that, and there are. So, for instance, there are companies that instead of sending people to university, they encourage people who have the aptitude for computer science. They actually hire them into a 1-year, 2-year training program or internship. And we had to look at that. The issue is that we want students to have an option that, if you're not a computer scientist, what do you do? We don't want you to use the app and discover that you don't have the aptitude for this kind of study. Then what's your other option? So we want to make sure that every option, or as many options as are possible, are there for you when you first use the app.
So if you were to flash forward, right? You've gotten through your alpha, you've launched a viable product, you've got an adoption. What do you consider to be some of the most important metrics for success that you're going to be tracking?
So in the long term, the goal is to reduce dropout rates. The goal is to improve, so difficult kind of thing to measure, but improve happiness within your career. But effectively reducing dropout rates and measuring that against students who are getting bursaries through our program versus students who are getting bursaries not through our program, and students who are not getting bursaries. And then making sure that company success is there as well. So keeping track of students who've got bursaries through the program throughout their university career, and then afterwards, while they're working at the companies, are they still actually enjoying the fields that they're in? So the same success metrics that we're using to build the profiles now, how does that compare to people who are now moving into the companies? So our main focus is it's always students first. It's not, we're using recruitment as a sustainability model, but we want to be there to support the students as much as possible. So all our metrics are based around, are students achieving as much as they can? Are they as happy as they can be in their chosen career paths?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think also there's probably an opportunity to create value for the corporations to link it to performance improvement systems, right? Yeah. And to try and track on a long-term efficacy how much more successful your students are based on the matching that's been done.
Yeah.
To look at your algorithm, of course, the algorithm gets better and better and better, and is more attractive when there's a lot of data sets, and that's why it's good that it's free. When you raise money, and as an investor, I would love to know then the metrics is how you get to those numbers, right? Free is good, but then how much does it cost to get a customer, to get a student, and also an employer? How do you get there?
How much does it cost us?
Yeah.
So that's something that we've been trying to work on and trying to reduce. So we're actually working with, I don't know if any of you have heard of Siavula, quite a big kind of publication, or not publication, but online textbook company in South Africa. Very similar to Khan Academy, but curriculum focused. And we're working with them to actually start attracting students. And they've shown us how we can actually cut it down to, say, 10 Rand, so $1 a student. That's very optimistic. So we're looking at a range between $1 and $5 a student. Companies, we haven't worked out an actual cost per company to get on board yet.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The judges will have a minute to confirm.
Yep, okay. All right. What? Okay. All right, I'll be here.
So Diane. Okay, so .learn is up next.
Hi. All right, great. So today I want to start out by talking about Tunde, a young boy from Nigeria. He was the second of 8 children and grew up on the outskirts of Lagos. His dream was to become an engineer. So he studied hard, becoming the first in his family to go to college at the University of Lagos. When he got there, though, he was disappointed by the quality of education. So every day after class, he would go to the campus library, which just happened to be the only library in all of Nigeria with free internet. And it just happened to be 2 minutes away from his dorm. Because the internet was free and easily accessible, he could take online classes from MIT's open courseware platform. After 4 years of supplementing his classes with online video lectures, he graduated at the top of his class. He then applied and got into MIT's PhD program. Today, Tunde has 2 master's degrees and a PhD from MIT. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the power of online education. And we want to put that power into the hands of every student in the developing world. And that's why last year, Tunde and I together created .learn. Now, in the developing world, online education is neither free nor widely accessible. The issue isn't so much the lack of internet as much as it is the speed and cost of internet. In Kenya, for example, it would cost $4 to stream a single hour of YouTube video. And that's why most EdTech companies in the developing world right now focus on upper-class students who can afford expensive devices and costly unlimited data bundles. We are .learn, and we're going to make online video learning work for the next billion by making online video learning accessible as accessible and as affordable as SMS. Now we do that through our video vectorization technology, which packages online video lessons into a text-based vector format. Now by encoding video as text rather than pixels, we can deliver the same exact videos in file sizes that are up to 100 times smaller. At that level, a student could download an hour of video for less than the cost of sending a single text message, making online video learning work for the 4 billion new internet users in the developing world who connect primarily over a mobile connection. And that's pretty game-changing. How do we get this into the hands of students? We work with companies to make their videos data light for their users. So as an example, consider Prep Class, an EdTech company in Nigeria. They have an app to help students study for the national exams. And just this year, they started uploading video lessons onto their app. The problem is that uptake has been slow since data is still too expensive for most users in Nigeria to watch online video. So, Prep Class could send us their videos. Our servers would then compress the videos and send them back to prep class. Prep class would then replace their old videos with the new smaller ones on their app, and their users wouldn't be able to tell the difference, except for the fact that the videos now load a lot faster. On top of making the videos smaller, vectorization also makes the videos much clearer, increasing visual engagement and ultimately learning efficacy. All this means that companies like Prep Class would no longer need to distribute content offline on tablets, SD cards, or offline servers. And while organizations like Khan Academy receive dozens of negative reviews a week from users complaining about video file sizes, our clients would have no such problem. And that means happier users, which ultimately means more growth, more revenue, and more impact. So, while our technology may be a little bit hard to understand, our value proposition most certainly is not. We've piloted our technology with several companies in Nigeria who together have impacted over 300,000 students to date. We've also had over 100 companies sign up for our beta. And if all those companies today implemented our technology, we would already be reaching over 10 million students, and we're just getting started. Our company has been featured on TechCrunch and CNN, and our Harvard and MIT team have been backed by some of the biggest names in the field. You can find out more information at www.learn.io or send us an email at team@learn.io. And together we can make online video learning work for the next billion. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we have questions from the judges.
Amazing. I love it. You know, I have an educational company in Bangladesh and in other countries there, and it was so difficult for our students to stream the content. So that was you're hitting a sweet spot there, and you can generally say if there's a 10x decrease in cost and you're aiming for 100, then there's 100% happening in disruption. Yeah. So you're fully on that. Question: can you talk a bit about the revenue model? How do you extract that?
Yeah, so we're doing on a per minute compression basis. Right now, that's at a $1 a minute, but we're now looking at, for companies that want to compress in bulk, because they have a lot of videos. The Khan Academy has many videos. Many of our clients have 10,000 videos at a bulk pricing model that would end up being about $3,000 to $10,000 per organization, depending on how big they are, how many users, how much video. But it's a per minute compression basis between $1 and say 10 cents a minute. Yeah. And we're also exploring a support model as well, where there's an annual fee for example, as we improve our technology. Which right now some videos, it's say 10x, and as we improve, it gets better over time.
And has one of those 10,000 customers paid for it?
No. So right now we have the current pilots are with companies who we're doing a revenue share, and right now we're getting about several $100s a month from those companies who themselves are receiving about $5,000 to $10,000 a month in revenue. These new clients, we're looking to have our technology ready for production within the next few months. But the conversations that we had, I can show you emails in person from organizations who we've already discussed pricing. Some of them for $5,000, some of them for $10,000, based on the calculations for the amount of video that they have.
I mean, the problem is obviously not specific to education in terms of transmission of video at high quality, et cetera. Yeah. What other competing technologies are available today to do the same thing?
So right now, there's existing MP4 compression technology, but that's what YouTube already does, and these numbers are compared to YouTube. Now, the whole concept is based on this idea called vector-based video. So while our compression service works on all video, the base of it, the heart of it, is this thing called vector-based video, which is much more effective than any existing compression technique for animations, screencasts, Khan Academy-style videos, and many other kinds of format that are commonly found in online education, which is why there's the variation in 10x to 100x. And as far as I'm aware, there's nothing else that does that. We have a patent on it.
So when you think about scaling your product, which I think is very cool, by the way, and I'm running an EdTech that's looking at developing countries and how to bring high quality product at scale there, so very interesting. But how have you thought about sales and distribution? And is there a particular segment that you're focusing on so your technology is embedded in companies that are going to those markets rather than a transactional basis? Are there different models you've thought about, and who's responsible for sales right now in your group?
It's an all-hands thing. We all went to MIT, we went to the business school and all that stuff. Right now, we're very focused on emerging market video learning companies that have between 5 and 30 employees, which definitely have raised some seed capital already. Some of them are way beyond seed, but most of them already have established operations. Our sales team, what we do right now is, again, it's all founders, all hands on deck. We go online, and the best way we found out has been to ask people who we know, do you know any companies that might be able to use us? We contact them, we scrape their videos, or we ask them for examples of their videos. We compress them, we give them it to them as an example, and then that opens up the conversation. When companies see that, before we even start the discussion, before we even try to sell them something, when we show them what we can do with their videos, they then become a lot more open to having a discussion, and that's how most of the commitments we've gotten so far from companies in Indonesia, India, Brazil have happened so far. Inside sales, basically.
Thank you for pitching literally the business model of Pied Piper from Silicon Valley. This is online video compression, ladies and gentlemen. This is Silicon Valley right now. Quick question. Why are you doing the whole kind of sales process, yada yada? Why don't you just produce an API that video companies can then just pull your API, revectorize their video, bang, you don't need the sales teams. You could just be printing money.
We have an API, but even to get to get people to know about our product, sometimes you have to go.
You have to sort of kind of go out and convince them, kind of thing.
Yeah, you get the first few users, and then that later turns into.
That's kind of slows down the scaling ability there, doesn't it?
Well, no, I mean you have to start somewhere. Even if you have an open API, who's going to use it on day one unless people know about it? So we have to tell people about it.
Have you heard of the press?
Well, it'd be wonderful if you guys could help us. Actually, one of the things we'd be hoping to do is our clients are ideally other companies working on this problem. So.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Larry. Great. Okay, so next up is learning equality. Oh, forgot. Judges are going to have 1 minute, and then we'll call learning equality. Okay, you're up.
So, as a teacher, I saw the challenges of giving timely, effective feedback to learners while also planning engaging lessons that help them develop critical thinking skills. Then working as a teacher trainer, I saw how helping teachers to develop and use technology in their classrooms that could free them up to support their students better and to have time to differentiate instruction more effectively could help improve their instruction for the better. I'm Richard Sibbles. I'm the product lead at the nonprofit Learning Equality, where my experiences and those of many others at the nonprofit have helped to shape Calibri, our offline educational technology platform that is released open source and designed for low resource and low connectivity contexts around the world. So, as we already heard this morning, many students are still out of school, and even more are in school and not learning. In spite of the wealth of online resources, including some that have proven impact, such as Pratham Books and many others, half of the world is still offline and can't access them, and this is the half that most needs these excellent resources. In recognition of this, in 2012, a group of graduate and undergraduate students at UC San Diego, including myself, realizing the wealth of resources online and focusing particularly on Khan Academy, created K-Lite, a platform that brings Khan Academy exercises and videos to offline for use with learners who do not have adequate connectivity for that experience. Since 2012, we've reached an estimated 5 million learners in 200 countries and territories around the world. There are about 195 countries, if that gives you a sense. And we also saw that this thirst for offline learning resources was prevalent in many contexts, so both formal and non-formal, orphanages, refugee camps, and also in prisons, both in the US and in other countries around the world. However, as well as learning that there was this tremendous need for this, we saw that it needed to go further. Beyond just Khan Academy content was one of the first bits of feedback that we got from our users, but also the ability to align that content to local curriculum standards, because that's how you get buy-in and use in school systems and also outside, because people want to be able to know that work they're doing is aligned to the work they're doing in school. So, in addition, we also wanted to support better differentiated instruction and better pedagogical models for teachers. So in order to support this, we created Calibri. Also offline, works completely without an internet connection. We now have a large library of open educational resources that we've aggregated from many resources online. It allows peer-to-peer data synchronization to allow better aggregation of data from remote sites. Has coach reporting tools so that teachers and administrators can track student data within their offline instance without having to go online. And also is designed to run on a diverse range of hardware. So this is legacy hardware, 7 to 8 years old, and also low-cost devices like the Raspberry Pi. Finally, we haven't just created software. We're also focusing on the implementation and the pedagogy. So we have a teacher toolkit, which is designed to be adaptable to particular contexts, but guide responsible implementation of educational technology, good blended learning practices, and also provide support for ongoing professional development through peer mentoring. We also have a curricular tool, Studio, which allows people to remix and reorder the content to align with curricular standards, upload their own content, and create their own assessments. This aggregates sources from a variety of different online resources, and we focus on open educational resources because they're copyable, flexible, and modular. We work with partners on the ground who know the particular needs of the context, who already have connections with educational stakeholders, and so they can adapt our materials and platform for their particular context of use. We bring technology expertise by designing the platform for a diverse range of learners around the globe, as well as pedagogy and deployment expertise that we've learned from our partners worldwide. We also offer research expertise to help them design impact assessments to properly understand how their work is working. With this approach, we have aggregated 60,000 unique content items from 30 online sources, and since our public launch of the platform in December of 2017, we've had 1,500 installs in 90 countries around the world, as well as pilots in Mexico, Uganda, and India with over 10,000 students. And that's my time.
Okay, thank you so much. Questions from the judges?
What are your challenges?
So what we would like to do is be able to get into more different countries to understand different contexts better. Also expanding our reach into ministries of education for better curriculum alignment. So we've had a few examples of success stories in that respect, where our partners in India have worked closely with the state standards and national standards to do curriculum alignment. Our partners in Mexico have also been doing similar work. We've worked with the Ministry of Education in Tanzania to get their sort of certification of the realigned curriculum that was using. But I think that sort of ministry level connection and buy-in is something that we're really interested in cultivating, again, with the particular local partners who will be doing most of the implementation work on the ground. because without that ministry buy-in, without that endorsement of the curriculum that gets aligned, then you're going to end up without getting widespread adoption.
How many people are you in the company?
We currently have 22 full-time employees.
Okay, if you don't have 2,000 people, then I wouldn't go to more than 90 countries. You know, as a question, I wouldn't say that as a first challenge. I would say India, more than 1 billion people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't have the focus on one country, I think is very important, because you know it takes a lot of leverage and it takes a lot of people on the ground to have, because it's not an automated solution, because per default you're reaching you know these areas, so you need the people on the ground and a lot of conversations with them.
Yeah, so in response to that, that's why our partnership model is very much focused on working with partners on the ground who are then working in that particular context. So we're creating the tooling that allows them to do the curriculum alignment work, but then having those ongoing partnerships and conversations with many different groups allows us to push forward that work beyond the scale of our current company.
So how long does it take to on-ramp a Ministry of Education?
Again, the main work that we've done with ministries has been with third parties, with other NGOs. And so we tend to work with them directly, and then they use their pre-existing relationships in order to move that forward. And then most of the curriculum design and realignment actually happens outside of the ministries very often.
Yeah, I totally agree with your comments around the focus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we always like to say startups don't starve, they drown in too many things to do.
Yeah.
And so, and especially as a nonprofit, and especially in how intensive this is, of course you want to automate as much as possible, but to really focus on a couple of key areas. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think your work's great. I have a fair amount of experience in developing open source learning object repositories.
Yep.
And I think the focusing on the tools on how to bring added value and putting those pieces of content together, whether it's building lessons, building assessments, I think it could be a differentiator out there. I think there's a lot of other repositories out there that are using FET and a lot of the same con and a lot of the same objects. I think the magic is going to be on how you pull those together in new and unique ways. One question I would have along those lines, how would you differentiate yourself from other, like a guru.org or other more mature organizations that are out there?
One of the main differentiators is the offline component. So when we aggregate content into our studio tool, it is now available for use offline, whereas most other aggregators of OER are basically cross-linking. So if you're on Guru and you have a Khan Academy video, you get linked to the Khan Academy site. You can't then download that directly onto a local device that then runs offline. So it's the offline aspect that is really the key differentiator here from Guru or other OER platforms.
And is that letting you do anything more with data, since you're bringing it offline and some of the transactional data, and how can that potentially impact your roadmap?
It certainly means that we're not sending people out and not capturing data. So if Guru is linking out to Khan Academy, they're probably not capturing as much data about interactions. So yeah, certainly we're gathering more data from the actual end user when they're engaging with content, and that allows us to feed back to our content partners. One of the main things that when we're working with content partners they really like is the fact that they can get direct analytics about that sort of usage and data from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the judges are going to have a couple more minutes as we're working on a presentation in the back.
Hello, everybody. While the judges deliberate, let me just explain. We actually have a last-minute entry to replace somebody who's sick. One of the companies who was going to be pitching today, the entrepreneur's sick, can't make it. So we've decided to put in a last-minute entry from someone else called Kiz Code, and we're just literally trying to load up the presentation. We're flying by the seat of our pants here. It's going to be fun. So 1 minute, we'll be back with you in 1 minute once we've got the presentation up. Are we ready? By the magic of technology, let's do it. Come on, let's hear it for Kiz Code. Come on. Now, nobody actually knows here. We don't have any notes for you. We don't have a pitch deck, but we're just going to get you on so you can pitch. Go, off you go. Tell us who you are.
I have this one. I think so. Right. Hi everyone. It's very nice minutes. So I'm sorry if I'm going to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's quite last minute, and thank you very much for welcoming me here. My name is Müjde Esin. I'm coming from Turkey, and I created Kiz Code in England when I was doing my academic studies. And it was awarded as a year of social enterprise by Home Office in England. And since 2016, I'm running the sessions both countries in Turkey and England, reaching out to migration communities and underprivileged girls and young women, and empower them through digital education technology. And I'm doing something that I'm collaborating with government in Turkey. We just started and reaching out 1,000 girls. And also I'm collaborating with some companies. Yeah. And also I'm collaborating with companies in Turkey, and we are delivering social responsibility for companies, and this is our social responsibility. And now I didn't put the Turkish at the moment for the mayor because we just started, and this one a little bit before I prepare this one. And also I'm collaborating with universities. In Turkey, I'm collaborating and getting sponsorship and I'm collaborating with universities and collaborating with other companies and NGOs and also social enterprise globally. And we are right now collaborating with Turkey, England, but we are aiming to go to Germany. I hope we are going to do this in a couple of months. And also I'm taking pedagogical approach from the universities, and Koç University, Westminster University and UCL. They are really helping me out for pedagogical approach, because once I start how to use technology, and we just realized that in the underprivileged communities, many girls are deprived of, and they are facing so many problems, especially language difficulties, and they are facing domestic violence, and that's why pedagogical approach is very crucial what I'm doing. And actually we are also doing scholars and oh, there it is. Cool. Okay, there you go. I just need to, and since I created Kiz Code in 2016. We are also honored to have some awards. First from a year of corporate social responsibility by Junior International United Nations, and the other one is 2017 Microsoft Women Leaders of Technology Awards as Successful Female Teachers of the Year. Actually, I have some videos, but I didn't put it at the moment. It's very stuck down. And if you have any questions, I'm really happy to have.
Thank you. I have a question. Can you just take a step back for me and describe your product and what it is you're doing and what problem you're trying to solve?
Well, I'm teaching how to use technology, and it's a social enterprise which aims to empower young girls and young women in underprivileged communities. I start with Kurdish and Turkish communities in England, and then when the Syrian crisis starts, I also done this within the refugee in Turkey and also outside of refugees. And now it's a little bit widening since I created, and now it's approaching not just only Muslim community, but the other community who are deprived of.
So is it courseware? Is it a online site? Is it curriculum? I mean, I'm just trying to understand what the product is.
Right. Well, actually, we are widening a lot. So it is curriculum. We are doing the curriculum based on the geography factor and where we are doing with UCL, Westminster University, and Koç University in Turkey. And also we are teaching how to use, we are using technology as a tool to reach out those vulnerable girls who are deprived of the community, and we are bringing them out from edge of the community and bring them in the center of in the country. And also I'm collaborating with companies once they are alumni. If they are creating something interesting, they are also funding them and give them opportunity to work with them. And we have also a very interesting project what the girls done. One of the girls are created a tool whose mother has a problem with, she has a cancer, and she created a device to measure her mother's blood pressure, and now it's funding in Turkey. And she is one of the person who facing domestic violence, and we will reach out. And also, I would like to lie down, to make it emphasize this. I'm also coming from deprived of education, so I'm the one of the girls who cashed education for long time later, with opportunity, who support me, and I'm trying to support other girls who also have the same position as I used to be.
Wonderful mission, and congratulations for building it and getting this far, and for jumping in here into the open slot. And also awesome to see a female founder. We just don't see enough of them, so it's great that you're here. My question is how are you empowering these young girls? Like, is it through building confidence in their academic achievements? Is it bringing them together and talking about different issues that are top of mind for them? Like, what are the key ways to achieve the goals that you would like to with them?
Right. That's what I'm working with the mayor in Turkey at the moment, in Eastern Turkey, especially bring them that they need to realize that all the skills that they need to integrate with technology. And some of them, they are keen on medical, and some of them keen on swearing, and or some of them using different, wants to do something as different. And we are using technology as a tool that you can also create your own project, or you can do your own product, then that will be also empower other people in the society. So we want them realize that that's very important, that we are using technology to realize your own skill and build your self-confidence.
So it's an entrepreneurship approach. So you're helping them become kind of mini entrepreneurs? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I am.
That's wonderful. Yeah, there's an organization in the United States like this called, you may have heard of build.org, and they work in schools, and the kids create like candle companies and all these little businesses, and some of them have gone on to graduate and carry them forward. It's a wonderful group.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up.
Okay, thank you very much, Kids Code. Big hand of applause.
Thank you so much.
Well done. We flying by the city of our now, everybody. So that concludes this tranche of startup pitches that you'll hear today. Gillian, what time is the rest of the startup pitches again? So startup pitches again back here at 1:45. For now, we now have a break. The judges will discuss that section of pitches. There'll be pitches later on, but we restart again at 12:45 with tomorrow's stage sessions. There will be fireside chats, panels, speakers, etc. from here on. So hang around for that, and we'll have further pitches. But for now, thanks very much, and grab a coffee, and we'll be back with you in about half an hour or so. Thank you.